The CDC recommends the COVID vaccine for school kids, not a mandate in Colorado. That is not stopping some political types from taking a shot of misinformation. Another political candidate in Colorado claims censorship by big tech, makes the claim but refuses to provide evidence. As Denver's landlords try to fight off a new tax, the city of Boulder says, take a look how it's working there. You are going to be asked to move some judges around. It's the first issue on your ballot. And a glimpse of fall colors without driving to the high country. Just got to think smaller than you're used to.
Save you some gas and some time. Come on and see us here.
After you see them here on Next.
There is misinformation swirling in Colorado tonight about a move made by a CDC advisory committee today to recommend the COVID vaccine for school children. The recommendation is not a mandate. Colorado in general takes a light-handed approach to childhood vaccine requirements. And there's no indication that the state of Colorado, Democratic Governor Jared Polis, are going to do anything other than let this national recommendation stand as a recommendation. Republican candidates around the country have been echoing claims made by Fox News host Tucker Carlson that this CDC vote means that all school children will be forced to get the vaccine. That's not true. Here in Colorado, Republican candidate for governor Heidi Ganahl said that she would not require COVID vaccines for Colorado schools, whether the CDC recommended it or not. Again, there's no indication that that's happening here in Colorado. So here are the facts on this. CDC does not set vaccine mandates for schools. Each state makes its own decision. Colorado's Board of Health is in charge of setting school vaccine requirements here, and it typically has less strict requirements than the CDC's recommendations. For instance, Colorado does not require flu or hepatitis A shots for school kids. A spokesman for Governor Polis said that Polis supports the state health department's current stance, which does not require the COVID vaccine. And that's in line with what we've seen from Polis previously, who is opposed to requiring COVID shots for the adults who work in schools. Something else we should remember as we talk about vaccines in schools, even with the vaccines that are required, parents in Colorado can get a medical exemption with a healthcare provider's note, or they can get a non-medical exemption for any reason after they watch an online video. If big tech companies were censoring Republican candidates in Colorado, that would be a huge deal. If Republican candidates are making that up, just totally inventing it for political gain, well, that would be a huge deal too, right? A second GOP candidate is now making a claim of big tech censorship without a shred of evidence.
Republican Senate candidate Joe O'Dea will not provide evidence to back up his claim he's being censored by Google, saying the company is trying to help Democratic Senator Michael Bennet. O'Dea is fundraising off the claim. He's asking people for money because Google is, quote, pulling my ads. When O'Dea wouldn't provide evidence, we went looking ourselves. O'Dea's Google Ads account shows only one ad removed for a policy violation. That was back in June. Often these violations are something small, like a format issue or a typo. The O'Dea campaign would not tell us the violation, or if they appealed the decision to Google. For its part, Google says O'Dea's ads have only had a small number of minor issues, mostly formatting. When reporter Spencer Soischer from our sister station KRDO in southern Colorado caught up with O'Dea today, O'Dea still did not have evidence of his claim that Google has pulled his ads and censored him.
Look, I got a crack team there. They found some anomalies. They addressed it with Google, and they cleaned it up.
So are you still being censored by Google?
I think at this point we've got it straightened out.
Yet O'Dea is still claiming big tech censorship. In fact, today, his campaign started running more online ads with that same claim.
Republican gubernatorial candidate Heidi Ganahl also claimed censorship without providing any evidence. Ganahl said that Facebook was blocking her campaign ads. Facebook's parent company told us that actually Ganahl failed to include a basic required disclaimer on her political ads, and they directed her to a troubleshooting page to fix the issue. Colorado's election ballots can be longer than CVS receipts. So as we do each year, we're going to go through every statewide ballot issue here. By watching this segment, you are pinky swearing with us that you're going to vote. Not our business how you vote. Let's just vote. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger starts us off with the first issue on your ballot, Amendment D.
What caught my eye about Amendment D is this explanation from the State Blue Book about what happens if you vote no. There could be uncertainty, and continuity of court functions could be disrupted. What? Amendment D is about moving judges into the state's soon-to-be newest judicial district. There are currently 22 districts, about to be 23. In 2020, the state legislature passed a bill taking some of the 18th and creating the 23rd. Starting in 2025, the 18th will be just Arapahoe County. For simplicity and fewer numbers, let's call this the North. The 23rd will be Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln counties, the South. That brings us to Amendment D. A yes vote means you are okay with the governor reassigning judges currently in the North and moving them south, which also requires those judges to live in one of those southern counties. A no vote means, well, it's not clear. It means the governor cannot move those judges, and new judges will have to be selected through the normal vacancy process, which I'll explain momentarily. Here's why it's messy. When the legislature created the South, it also mandated that the North would shrink from 24 judges to 17, and that the South would have 8. A yes vote means that you will allow the governor to move 7 judges from the North to the South. Normally, judge vacancies are filled by a judicial nominating commission. The commission receives applications, nominates judges for openings, and the governor appoints the judge. Then, in future elections, voters decide if that judge can keep their job. The commission does not handle moving a judge from one district to another. A no vote does not prevent the South from being created. That's happening in 2025. A no vote just means we don't know how the North would lose 7 judges since they can't be fired. District judges appear on a ballot every 6 years, so they can be voted out, they can resign, or they serve until they're 72. But there is no method to say, hey, you 7 judges are automatically out in 2025. I promise that was for simplicity, not to create a Civil War type thing. Remember I said that judges have to live in the district they work. Right now, they all live in the North, the 18th, because it's all 4 counties. Well, coincidentally, or luckily, 7 of the judges currently working in the North live in the boundaries that will become the South. So I guess the governor could say, hey, we have 7 judges that we could just easily move this way. If this passes, boom, you already live there, no one has to move.
Wait, so the statewide vote is just like for this one situation and literally like just those 7 people, but they need voters' permission?
They need voters' permission. And I guess if we haven't had a new judicial district since 1964, so it could be decades before this happens again. But if this happens again, this only deals with this specific district. So we'd have to go back to voters about another thing. Like this isn't, if this ever happens in the future, can we do this again in the future? Nope, they're going to have to go to voters again in the future. By the way, it's a constitutional amendment, requires 55% of people to say yes.
Oh, not just 50 plus 1. Okay. All right, Marshall, thank you. With all the political debates that we are packing in on next this week, 7th Congressional District debate here tomorrow night, I don't want anybody to forget about the fact that we are continuing our weekly Word of Thanks microgiving tradition as well. Together, we are supporting a nonprofit that trains hearing dogs to help deaf and hard of hearing Coloradans navigate their world. International Hearing Dogs, based out of Adams County, takes puppies, often from shelters, and begins an intense years-long training process. These hearing dogs act as someone's ears at home and at work, at school, out around in the community. And these dogs are specifically trained for their human's individual needs. One dog for one person. They're trained for whatever that person needs to be alerted to. Because the process is so personal, training one dog specifically for one person, it becomes really time intensive and pretty expensive. But the result for the people involved, they say, is life changing. Service dogs make the world easier to navigate, less dangerous, less lonely. If you scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I'll send you that link to donate. Just a heads up, the text function's been weird lately for T-Mobile users, but anybody can always find the donation link in the next section at 9news.com or on our Facebook or Twitter accounts. And as always, I'll match the first 50 people who donate $5. Hearing Dog International, based right here in our backyard, helps Coloradans hold on to their independence, their confidence, their connection with other people. And our support's going to help them train more dogs for more of our neighbors.
Denver voters will decide whether landlords should be taxed to help people at risk of eviction. Common sense is landlords are just going to pass that cost along.
We have seen landlords apply that fee directly to their tenants.
Let's look at what's happening in Boulder, where they already have a similar program. And this is not what you tend to think of as fall colors, but it counts. It's a little weird, but it counts. And it's next.
As Denver voters decide whether to tax landlords to create a legal fund for tenants facing eviction, Boulder's watching all like, that's a nice idea. You know, we've had that since 2020. Our Steve Steger figured that gives Denver a chance to see how eviction protections might work.
In a city known for its high housing costs, Boulder is feeling the pinch even more these days. The pandemic did a number on people's ability to pay, and the Marshall fires squeezed the already short supply of available units. The threat of eviction looms large here.
Eviction's a really scary time. Most people don't know what to do. They don't know who to talk to.
Jay Allen is the program coordinator for Boulder's Eviction Defense Fund, a ballot initiative passed in 2020. It charges landlords a $75 fee each year to fund legal defense for tenants facing eviction.
We bring attorneys with us every week to court, and they're offered for free to anybody there, and they will provide representation if it's necessary, or just advice.
2021 was the first year this program operated. Last year, Boulder's program prevented eviction in 63% of cases, up 26% from the years before the program existed. That 63% may not sound like a lot, but Allen says it represents nearly every case where a tenant showed up for court.
Oftentimes, people won't even come to court. They'll just pack up and leave, and then you'll end up with an eviction on your record.
And keeping that eviction off someone's record is key. Simply having one on your record can be like a scarlet letter, spiraling someone into homelessness.
If you're trying to apply for a new place to rent, if you're trying to get into a new unit, a landlord can see it, and they may choose not to rent to you on it, because of that.
Landlords opposed to Denver's ballot initiative told us the cost of it will simply be passed on to tenants. Allen says that has happened.
We have seen landlords apply that fee directly to their tenants. When we're talking about $75 a year on a monthly basis, that's pretty negligible.
One of the key differences between Denver and Boulder's initiatives is under Boulder's portion of the program, part of that $75 landlord fee funds rental assistance. And in 2021, Boulder handed out about $163,000 in assistance to renters who were having trouble making ends meet. Denver's initiative would solely fund the legal assistance, and Boulder says that rental assistance really kind of comes in handy.
It might prevent some people from ever needing the more expensive legal assistance in the end, I guess.
Yeah, because, when you look at a lot of these cases, you take them on an individual basis. It might be a behavior problem, it might be something against the lease. That's the reason you're facing an eviction. But in a lot of cases, it's financial. And if you might be able to figure out something with a landlord, you might not even have to go to court. You can figure it out together and maybe stay in the home.
All right. Steve Steger, thank you for that gorgeous plaid jacket.
Thank you.
Well, today it didn't feel much like fall out there. It was actually pretty warm, and we have more warm weather in store. Still at 73 degrees at DIA. Sun's starting to set there. We have winds calmed down to around 8 miles per hour coming in from the south-southwest. As we continue to monitor our HD Doppler radar, we still have this ridge of high pressure right over Colorado, and this is going to continue to give us sunny, dry skies. And we're going to watch for some windy afternoons, especially tomorrow. In the meantime, though, we're going to be mild and calm overnight tonight. Mostly clear skies. Those lows near 43 degrees. As you go through your day tomorrow, we see another day with quite a bit of sunshine. We stay dry. Now, it will be windier tomorrow. We'll see those winds coming in from the west at around 10 to 20 miles per hour with those temperatures all the way in the upper 70s. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be warm. It's going to be windy. And because of those winds and drier conditions, we do have red flag warnings that'll be in effect tomorrow. That's going to be all of the bright purple, bright pink areas. And then the southeastern corner of the state will be under a fire weather watch Saturday. So we're going to watch for dry weather and strong winds over the next couple of days. This is in addition to these warmer temperatures all the way into the 70s before we finally start to see some change move in at the beginning of next week. Sunday, we cool into the mid 60s. We're going to watch for scattered showers, and then we could see some very early morning flurries Monday morning.
You don't have to go to the mountains to see fall colors, but you're going to have to think smaller. Even smaller than that.
Have you noticed that fall is sexier than usual around Denver this year? It's gorgeous. Reds and oranges and yellows popping off all over the place. And inside the walls of Denver Botanic Gardens, our photojournalist Brian Wendland found a guy who's trying to turn those beautiful fall colors into small, living works of art.
Most of us fall for autumn at a distance. Even at the Denver Botanic Gardens, it's tough to get up close and personal with nature's canvas.
The sun gets in the opening here, and it's just starting to change here.
But Larry Jackal has a way
Really beautiful color.
of shrinking this art down
reds and oranges, some yellows in there.
To eye level.
So every day it'll get a little better.
He's a bonsai specialist.
It's in a container, a bone, and so the tree is the sai, and the color is fall.
He cares for 90 trees from 30 species.
The tree is managed by pruning almost all the time.
Like a forest of children, he can't pick a favorite.
Probably the easiest way to describe that is I'm happiest with the one I'm working on at the time.
But little leaf peepers always seem to linger.
It's our fall color is that brilliant yellow.
Near this Colorado native.
This is an aspen, and it's unusual because the trunk is so crooked and gnarly and twisted.
The colors are as vibrant as anything you'll sit through traffic to find in the mountains.
Save you some gas and some time. Come on and see us here.
And Larry says his shrunken sea of yellows, reds, and oranges brings people back to their favorite fall adventures.
I like being able to take people somewhere else in their memory place that reminds them of something they really like, but in a tree we have right here.
A tree right here in the garden of miniature masterpieces. For Next, I'm Brian Wendland.
So those bonsai trees will be out for another month. Over winter, a few will be in the garden's greenhouse, and then they go back outside next May. We're back in a moment with your feedback about something involving this program that a viewer calls completely inappropriate. Next. Viewer Gene writes in tonight to say the presence of Kyle Clark in an attack ad against Jenna Griswold is completely inappropriate. Jenna, we have no control when campaigns or groups clip portions of our news programs and put them in ads. If they ever use something true that we've said and skew it so that it's untrue, we will tell you about that. But again, it's outside of our control. And with this being a program that you count on to say true but uncomfy things about politicians of every party, it's not unusual for it to turn up in ads. Bill writes, this is good, most commercials before the election are political ads. I miss the commercials that tell me which products to buy. Now, when I go shopping, I don't know which cereal to buy. I am clueless. I don't know which drugs to ask for when I go to the doctor. This is a crisis. It's a crisis. I'm glad that you're keeping good humor about it. It'll be over before we know it. See you next time.